I'm Julia Davis, a film major who stumbled into the business world with no experience in 2006. I was able to fail enough to learn how to run a seven-figure business and have provided consulting services to over 200 individually owned companies. Through this podcast, I hope to provide some perspective on the growth and grit it takes to accomplish big goals and share some hard lessons I've had to learn along the way. Thanks for joining the Growth and Grit podcast. My name is Julia Davis, and today we are joined by Nancy Economou, who is the founder and CEO of Watts of Love, which is an organization that is fighting generational poverty through the power of solar light. And she started this with one life-changing experience that she had on a trip to the Philippines. And after seeing what she saw there, she created this nonprofit. And today we're going to be talking about purpose, resilience, leadership, and having the courage to follow a calling bigger than yourself. So, Nancy, thanks so much for joining me on the podcast. I appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so I know Watts of Love is just this incredible organization that birthed out of just a trip you took to the Philippines, right? Can you tell us
Yes.
about that?
Yeah. Well, as you said, I was a mom of five boys. I had stopped working and was staying home taking care of my children. And it was in 2009 I had the opportunity to go to the Philippines. And I was just really curious. Like, we'd been wined and dined by the local people, but I thought, I know people don't live that way. So I went to a feeding program. And when I was at this feeding program, there was a little girl that her whole face was burnt. And the teachers were putting toothpaste on her burns. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what happened to this little girl? And they're like, oh, this happens all of the time. Children are always burnt because they don't have electricity and they have candles or kerosene, which is like a Molotov cocktail. And so if it falls, it just blows up. And so, you know, they're like, nobody here has any electricity. And I started thinking, like, I've heard people don't have electricity, and it's like, oh, but then I really started thinking, like, how do you raise children? How do you change a diaper? Like, just how do you work? How do children study? And just really had an awareness and came back from that trip. And I can't explain it, but I felt compelled that I was supposed to start bringing solar lights to people that have no access to electricity.
So you had no experience starting a business or starting a nonprofit or doing any of those things. And so you come back with this idea and you're like, I'm going to bring solar lights to these people, but you're not an engineer. You didn't go to like engineering school.
No.
So were you like, okay, where did you even begin?
Yeah. So, Julia, just to put it in perspective, right? I stopped working when I was 28. I was 47. So, when I stopped the workforce, there were no computers. Like, there was such a gap. And I just like to tell other women or people because so many times we discount ourselves. Like, I, I don't know, I don't know how to do, work a computer. Like, there's so much self talk that I had to get over in order to start this. So, I saw this experience in 2009 and it was 2013 that I'm like, I've been given this dream for a reason. I need to do something. And so, getting over that self-talk and then really like starting any business, it was just more instinctive for me, right? Because I had never done anything like it. I'm like, okay, I looked at everything as by step by step. What do I need to do? Register the name with the state of Illinois. Get a website. Like all of the unattractive parts of starting a business or the not so fun. Like, what are all the little foundational things that I need to do? And if I ran into a roadblock, I just would pivot. And I just kept pivoting and just not giving up. And yeah, no, I mean it's crazy. I look back at what I did and it's comical and impressive and, just a lot of things, but I hope for most people, I hope that it's encouraging. Um, but
And I'm sure you
yes,
didn't
and I
see, oh,
go
sorry to
ahead.
interrupt you. I'm sure you didn't see progress right away, right? So you had this idea in 2009. When was it that you finally had like a product in hand where you were thinking, okay, I could probably distribute this? And how much, you don't have to share this if you don't want to, but how much money and time did it take to get from the idea to the actual product?
Yeah. So that's a great question, and it's very personal, and I'm happy to share it. So when I started Watts of Love, it was in 2012. I have to tell you, in 2009, when I went to the Philippines, personally, it was the worst time of my life. I had found out that my husband was making very poor choices, and he had also had a real estate company, and we had lost everything. So I wasn't in a emotional or a financial position where like, oh, I'm going to start a little non for profit. It was like I am in the pit of hell, but I've been given this dream or this vision for a reason, and I'm going to do something. So when I first started Watts of Love, and you have to think in 2009, there was very little LEDs on the market. There was very little solar. There was no UN sustainability development goals. Like there wasn't like this North Star for me to look at. So I started, my husband had a contact in China with a manufacturer and I found some solar products.
Okay.
So I started with that because I knew I needed to just get off of, first base. And I designed and patented a light after I saw the problems that the people were serving with the first light. So, for example, the first light that I brought was about this big and it had a separate solar panel and a wire. Well, the people that we serve live in like a thatched hut, right? There's dirt floors, bamboo walls, thatch roofs. And what happened is the mice come through and they eat the wires. They don't have any access to repair. Like there was no Wi-Fi anywhere. I mean, the people that we serve are extremely remote. So I started seeing problems that, with the mice, and then also that the solar panels were being stolen, and that the light, I'd look at this big light, I'm like, I'm shipping air. Like if I'm really going to start getting to these remote places and mountaintops and areas, I need to be more efficient. So I started looking at all of the problems that were created by this new light. And then I came home and I designed and patented this light based on their needs. So I took the solar panel, and yes, it looks very small. And yes, that was incredibly intentional because people are substance farmers. So they walk or they're fishing, they go to the market, they have to walk. And having a solar light go with you means that you have a safe way of getting home. It also can charge, which I'll talk about in a second. So it was intentionally designed to be small. The solar panel is on the back. It does have a micro USB, so you can charge it from electricity or a power bank. There's a raised heart in the center here, which is because people don't have glasses, so they can feel where to push. This large surface is the button, and I designed this large surface because I was in a leper colony with everybody had leprosy in Kathmandu, Nepal, so they didn't have fingers, you know, body parts had fallen off. And so when I was designing the light, it was really the motivation was that people with any type of disability that they would be able to use this. So this push and hold is the first setting. You can see the three green lights means that the battery is 75%. This first setting will last 120 hours of continuous runtime. So this is incredibly long. Number two will last 50 hours. This will last about 15 hours and then 8 hours. It's over 275 lumens. It's very bright. And then it also has an emergency strobe, which acts as the 911. It comes on a lanyard, which means that it can clip on here. You can put it around your neck. You can unclip it and then hang it in your house as a chandelier, put it on your head as hands free. So this hangs inside or hands free. And hands free is so important. Caring for your children, going to the bathroom, working in the field. And so everything from what I saw and how they were using the lights, I created something. But the number one reason that I created something was because when you give somebody a solar light, they now can start saving the money that they were buying batteries or kerosene. And it's called, we teach financial literacy. So now if they can start saving their money, creating entrepreneurship, a second stream of income, the money starts coming in and they don't know what to do with it, right? So we have this teaching, which I'll talk about in a second. But with the light, I didn't want to give them a light and we turn around and walk away and the light breaks because that would be bad for my local partner. And then it would also be really bad for that family. So the light that we designed will last at least 10 years if they care for it properly. It's waterproof, it's UL certified. Like I wanted to make sure that it was the best light because our goal isn't to be giving out lights to everybody for free for the rest of their life. No, the goal is to use this as a tool to end generational poverty. Your children can now get a better education. You can now create a business. The women are safe at night, like all of those things through light. And then the box is their bank because the people we serve have never heard of a bank or don't have access to a bank. And so savings is a new concept. So every day, instead of going to the battery dealer, you're going to put your money in here. You don't open it for 7 days. In 7 days, you open your box, you take out your money, and you do what? You buy a chicken. Then another 7 days. So it's this step by step process that's breaking that cycle of dependency on batteries or kerosene and then independence through the entrepreneurship.
So they get the box, they get the light, and then so walk me through the business plan that you show these women because obviously there's a literacy issue. They
Yeah.
can't read. They don't have technology to watch videos. They can't do any of that. So walk me through the
There's no
process.
YouTube, right?
Yeah.
There's no YouTube. And so I came back and I thought, how can I teach women who have and men, no formal education? They can't count. They've never heard of savings or a bank. Like it's all a foreign concept. So this is the business plan. Here is, the box. So they're going to get their box. And then we write down, and my local team writes down for every single person, right? So we may have 500 people. Like it's on a community scale, but it's individual
Mhm.
because we want every person to have their business plan. So when they leave, they have a vision bigger than when they arrived. So we write down how much you save in a week, how much you save in a month, and then here is what can you create like a second stream of income? Can you make sleeping mats? Can you make donuts, like bamboo barbecue sticks? Whatever we're not going to tell you what to do. This is what you can do with your indigenous or your local
Skill.
community.
Yeah.
So business plan. And then here is a step by step. You're going to take this money after 7 days and you're going to invest in the first chicken. Then you're going to keep buying chickens. They start to multiply. And then you're going to take 10 chickens and you're going to buy a goat or a pig. And
Is it
again,
just trading? So, like, if I have 10 chickens, I can trade it for a goat, or
yeah,
I can
they'll
sell the
trade
chickens
it.
and make money to buy a
They
goat?
can sell the 10 chickens. They can trade it. Like there's a whole, whatever they want to
Yeah.
do, but they can usually there's a lot of bartering happening.
Mhm.
And then so if they get the pig and the pig has piglets, it is an explosion of wealth. Like I can't even explain. I don't even know what to relate it to here in the United States, but if somebody gets a pig and that pig has piglets, it's like 1 or 2 years worth of an American salary, just to kind of like put it into perspective. And then here, right? So it's step by step. You're going to diversify. You don't want just chickens because when the chicken flu comes through, everything will die. So you want a few ducks. So all of this is part of our teaching. And then the circle here is what is your big dream, right? People have lost hope. They don't know what a future. They're just trying to get through today. And saying what their big dream is really challenging for a lot of people. But, do you have a thatch roof and you want a tin roof? Children's education, right? And children's education is really the number one thing. They say, when I save my money, I'm just going to go pay for school fees. And we say no, because that doesn't multiply. The first thing you need to do is a chicken and ducks, and you need something that multiplies. And then they start to think, oh, okay. I said, and then you never run out of money for school fees. So it's this whole step by step, extremely simple teaching. So they leave with this piece of paper, and you'll go to somebody's home years later, and this is sitting up like, tacked up in, like a little bamboo hut. Um, it's just it's really their commitment to themselves,
Mhm.
right? You have a gift of a light. You have a new vision for yourself. We're not going to be able to do it for you.
Mhm.
If you want to change your life, today's the day you can do that. If you don't, just enjoy the light till it wears, like, and there's people who are like, I left my light out and somebody stole it. Well, we taught you to keep it on your body, right? Like, and bad things happen. And just because bad things happen doesn't mean we're going to stop doing good.
Mhm.
But the majority of the people really value and keep this light.
It's just like anything else. There's
Yeah.
always a percentage of people who really take advantage of something and somebody, there's it's just the same with everything else.
It's no different. Yes.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible. Um, so from beginning to end, how long did it take you to get to this point? Because people in the industry that I'm in, if they're not hitting their goal by like month 2, they're in a bad mood. They're like, "Oh, this is taking too long. I need to be making more money. I want to," and these are common negatives of entrepreneurship. Like we always think we should be making more money faster and it should take less time. But nothing good ever follows those 2 rules, right? It's always more expensive than we think, and it takes a heck of a lot more time than we ever think it will. So, can you give me a
Absolutely.
perspective on that? So people watching this podcast that are in the thick of developing something and maybe it's taken them 6 months or 8 months or even a year and they're like,
Yeah.
"Whew, this is too long."
You know, if you don't quit, you win.
That's so true.
And that was really my motto. Like, things, it took 3 years for me to certify the light through UL. Now, the people that I serve don't care if it's UL certified, but it cared to me as an American to show people that how serious we were with bringing the best product. It's just you need to know what is important to you. Are you willing to wait for it? Right. And all of those things just start are in the equation. And, it took years for the lights to start being manufactured. But, if you have a dream and you believe in yourself, you just have to keep moving forward. But yeah, do I get frustrated? Absolutely. Nothing, you know, it moves as fast as you would like it to move. It's hard, I think, looking back, you especially a non for profit, right? I had to beg people like volunteers, like you can get nothing done with volunteers, right? And I mean, there was just so many obstacles, but I had a vision for running a non for profit like a business, right? Because if we don't do it, who's gonna who is gonna do this? So um yeah, just give yourself patience. Don't give up on yourself. And if you're meant to do it, it'll absolutely happen.
Was it hard for you to fundraise what you needed? Because I'm sure you needed a big cash flow coming in. Was that something that was challenging, is trying to raise capital?
Yeah. So, Julia, believe it or not, I didn't raise capital for any of it.
Whoa, okay.
So, because whether it's a non-for-profit or a for-profit, people buy into people
Mhm.
and your vision. So if you're raising capital, they're giving you money and investing in you. And so I happened to have a relationship with a local manufacturer, a kind of a design uh lighting company. And I went to them and told them what I was doing, shared my story, vulnerability, transparency, and asking for what you need.
Yeah.
And so I did all of those things, and they said, "We believe in what you're doing. We see your vision, and we will help you." So literally, I came there. I had jerry rigged a light, duct taped it together, went in there with my sample, and they helped do professional drawings. And I needed help with like the circuit board and identifying what type of battery we needed. And they used their manufacturer to help me. And they invested in the first light. So they invested in the story and in me. So it was spectacular really to watch. And then UL, um,
And what is
certifying the
what is UL if people don't know?
yeah, so if you look on the back of, like, your microwave or anything electronic, it's a little circle that says UL. It's a global safety certification, like microwaves. Every single thing in your house has a UL certification. It's a safety standard, meaning it's gone through all of these tests so that it's not gonna burn down your house, right? You see all those, what were they? The scooters, those lithium batteries
Yes.
that were blowing up, and it's and the lithium ion battery, which is in my light, right? You see the in the airplanes, things
Yes.
are catching fire because I guarantee it's not UL certified. So I didn't obviously want to give a light that I would cause any problems to the people I was trying to serve. So I wanted to make sure that this light was as safe as we could make it.
Yeah. So while you're developing this business, and you said in one of the worst times of your life, I want to talk a little bit about how to navigate personal issues as you're
Yeah.
building and developing a business. So this wasn't the only thing that happened to you, right? Did you have like some other extreme negative that happened while you were trying to develop this product?
Yeah, I mean, there's just it's hard to find employees, right? You need to build a team around you. And I think one of the hardest things was like, I'm like, okay, I can pay $10 an hour. And getting people investing in the right people, it was just like turnover. And, I was moving fast and, there was a lot to do. And so people would burn out very quickly.
Mhm.
So I think, like looking back, if I was to give any advice, fill in the gaps where you really need it and invest in the right person so that they're there for the long haul. My first full, so that was it, like with first few people. And then finally, my first employee was with me for 7 years. And she, a startup is a very hard place for somebody else to step into with you.
Mhm.
And she had that ability. So finding somebody who can flow with you, that you have a good relationship with, um, so I think finding employees was really and the right team was really one of the biggest challenges for a long time.
Oh, yeah, I agree. In any business, I think finding the right people is one of the most challenging things, and it's a lot of it's trial and error, but some of it is just really vetting people before they come in and making sure you know who they are.
Oh, yeah, it's right. It it is for sure one of the biggest problems
Mhm.
in any business.
If you could go back and try to speed up a learning curve somewhere in this whole process, where would it be?
I'm going to tell a story that's a little off your question,
Okay.
and I want to tell it because your voice and your dream is probably more important than you realize. And I think offense is one of those things that can stop your dream because you're like, "Ugh, I can't believe they said that to me," or whatever it is. And I think trying to be unoffendable is or not taking sometimes what people say to heart. And I'm going to share a story in 2015. Like, the first couple years, I'm like, how do you start a global non for profit? Like, I mean, it was it was a little crazy, right? But I knew I had an office that was not where I wanted to be. And I wanted to be close to my children because they were going to school. I wanted to be in downtown Downers Grove near their school. And a building came on the market. And it's an adorable building right on the train tracks, this cute little building. And it was for sale. So I went to the person who was selling it and I said, I don't have the money to pay for it. Can you donate it to me? I'm a non for profit. And he's like, absolutely not. And I'm like, well, these are actually the people that we serve. And I just kept even though he was like, "There's no way I'm gonna donate this to you," I just kept talking, kept telling him, just kept sharing vision with him, and eventually he donated the whole building to us. So you're gonna run into obstacles, and people are more willing to help and get behind a vision, and even if they tell you, "No, absolutely not, I'm not gonna give you my building," and you just keep don't get offended. That's okay. But this is what I do. This is really who you're helping. And so I just want to encourage people just To be unoffendable and not afraid and ask for what you need.
That's so interesting because he said no, and then you just kept going. You just kind of ignored it.
And if you see my building, you're gonna be like, "Nancy, that is the cutest building." And it has 80,000 people a day. The train, everybody's like, "What's Watts of Love?" Like, it's so funny. Like, it's
Advertising
spectacular.
for it is perfect, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's hilarious. So, after he said no and you just kept sharing and kept telling him, was it in that visit that he said, "Okay, fine," or was it much later, or how did that go?
It was over a few weeks, but
Yeah.
I also wanna tell you I never met him. This is all over, like, through a broker, and he lived in Florida, and I to the well, he passed away during COVID, but I never met him.
Wow.
So, it was just this conversation, like, back and forth and emailing and, negotiating and yeah.
And what would you say is, like, the biggest problem nonprofits face today, like, in your opinion or in your experience?
I mean, I think well, I'll talk about myself because I know
Yeah.
when you look at all of $140 billion or something like that in DAFs alone, right? Donor advised funds. There's so much money that is parked. People get, they sell a business, they have an event, they put it in a donor advised fund, and they get the tax credits, but then it sits there. And most people give away 5, 10, maybe 15% a year, and there's so much money just that is intended and earmarked for non-for-profits, and it's sitting there. For many reasons, right? Because you like to look, I've got $5 million or $20 million sitting in my DAF account, even though they know they've given it away, but it's still growing, right? So I look at international non-for-profits and people say, you don't need to go internationally to find somebody who needs help. And that's true. But I can tell you the people that we serve live on less than 80 cents a day. And the difference that a small gift can make in their life, I can't even compare anything here. Um, and of all the giving in a year, 6% goes to international. So the amount of money that is poured into non-for-profits here in the United States is significant. Very little is international. And what is international is a lot of like water projects and education, which people need, but lighting is a universal need, right? I just was out of power yesterday. We had a tornado come through here. I was out of power for five hours and it was headlines. 30,000 people in Downers Grove don't have lighting. Like, how about 700,000 people don't have lighting ever? Like, it is, and it's a universal need. There's no business, there's no education, nothing happens after the sun sets. And in Africa, the sun sets at 6 p.m. It's pitch black.
Yeah, I mean, and I think everyone knows that stuff, but seeing it is totally different, right? So I know you do these trips, right, where you take donors and people to Africa or other places and you say, "Okay, I'm gonna show you actually what's happening here." And I'm sure that changes a lot of perspectives. What have you noticed when people are truly exposed to that negative?
Yeah, I mean, and that's really my mission because we have focused, the last 10 years on the positive side, right? Lots of love comes in, people start businesses, they're saving money, entrepreneurship, education, all these things happen. The tipping point for every family. But I really am starting to focus on the problem and the life before Watts of Love and all of those things that happen. Um, and then when you take Americans, I love when Americans come, right? That's not our core mission, but a lot of donors want to come and see the impact, hear the testimonies, and I think people come back. People go thinking that they're gonna make an impact on the people that they're serving, but they actually come home and the people that they served impacted them more than anything.
Mhm.
The utter joy with such little in life. and the opportunity that they now share because of this light, they're just I think people come home humbled by something so little and a transformational effect, and, um, and the gratefulness, because people will say, when we distribute the lights and the teaching, people are like, "You're lying. Nobody gives out a light. Who who am I that you would give me a light?" Like, this is the humility of the people that we serve really transforms the heart of our travelers.
Yeah. So if someone's watching this and they wanna know what your goal is or how they can help, what would you tell them?
Yeah. Well, I would say, if you would like to travel, come with our one of our global travel team trips. It's spectacular. Any gift will help, right? We fundraise $50 a family. That's manufacturing, shipping, international. I have over 400 team members who do all the training and the teaching. The whole program is based not on Americans coming, but about local people, women teaching women, so we have a whole program. So it's $50 for a family. So we would love any donation, but also, share your video, share the podcast, share our uh, Facebook or Instagram. We also have a documentary that will be coming out this fall, which is called Light on the Water. If you want to gather a group together to watch this documentary, Light on the Water is about a area in Kenya, and this is not just a Kenya problem. This is a global problem where women are forced, not forced, women have no other choice but to have sex 3 times a day for fish to feed their children. Whether it's fish, a bag of rice, when you are out of options to care for your children, you make decisions that you need to get by to survive. And so this is the before Watts of love that needs to be told. Because when you go in and give a woman a light, she can now start fishing at night. She can start saving money, like the independence. And people don't associate light with these things. So really, this documentary, host an event at your house or your church, your work, wherever. We would love to send somebody there and create a movement for Watts of Love.
That's beautiful. So thanks so much for all the things that you do, and we'll link below, the website and how people can get in contact with you, but I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your story on here. I think it's just such a powerful thing that you're doing, and it's just amazing to me that you felt called to do this and created this entire business just with an idea, so
Well,
unbelievable.
that's what we do. You're right. Ask a busy mom to get something done, and we
Yeah,
figure it
that's
out.
true. That is so true. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure you and I will talk soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Julia.
Every week on the Growth and Grit podcast, we bring you real stories and practical tools to help you thrive through challenges. If this resonates with you, make sure you subscribe, follow, and share this podcast with someone who could use it too. It only takes a second, but it would mean the world to us, and it keeps you plugged in to fresh inspiration.